Hey there, everybody. It's Jacob Brega, here with another environmental topic that I've explored. I'm sure you've seen my LinkedIn posts, and so here's YouTube. This is a new medium for me. Let me know if you like the video. I guess you can like the video. You can comment if you want to. Um, Also in the description, I'll have my um, sources that I discuss throughout the presentation that I give here. Presentation is a little bit formal, but a little talk here that I give. Um, and yeah, so going into topic this week, um, it is sort of inspired by basically how we, across the world, how we all experience the effects of climate change differently. Um, like in Indiana, I feel like we are pretty insulated from climate change, whereas states that are more coastal, they're getting hurricanes that might be more severe because of climate change, or sunny day flooding, which is really concerning, I think. Um, so a big point in this little research that I did was that I was trying to sort of discount political factors and sort of normalize for them, eliminate them. I guess that's three different ways of saying the same thing, but basically try to eliminate political factors. Pull out the only information that, only the information that has to do with like individual situations in terms of like geographical effects of climate change, and not individual situations in the sense of like political identity, if that makes sense. I'll explain it a little bit more later on. So let's get into the Excel spreadsheet that I've prepared. So here it is. I'll start with column B. So this column is acceptance of global warming occurring in a percentage form. So this data is from the Yale Climate Center, I believe it's called. The link's in the description. And they provided data from 2020 from individuals in each state about their belief that global warming is occurring. And it seems like it's gone up a lot in the past maybe a couple of years, because I was pleasantly surprised at the levels of acceptance that it's happening. Okay, so column C, that is people living on coast. I guess I just said coastal population. Coastal population, that's what that is. That data is from the Census Bureau. It's from 2016. Basically, they provided data for all of the coastal counties, coastal as in like on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, or the Atlantic coast, or the Pacific coast. They provided data for all those counties, and then I aggregated the ones that are in the same state, and then I put them here. So that's what's here. State population, that's also from the Census Bureau from 2016. Yeah, that one's pretty simple. So that's all that's all I'll say about the data for now. Moving into the graphs. So first graph is global warming acceptance. So column B versus coastal population, which is column C. Global warming acceptance is on the y-axis. Coastal population is on the x-axis. So as you can see here, there sort of appears to possibly be a general sort of trend that with more coastal population, there's a greater acceptance of global warming. It appears that's possibly a conclusion. I'm not really sure about that yet, just looking at this graph. And this does not sort of, there's no attempt in this to remove political factors. There will be later, and I'll talk about that. Okay, So looking at this graph, there's kind of a lot of data in that low, close to population kind of area. I guess low is relative, but then there are a couple points here that are pretty high. One around 17 million, and there's one around, or 16 million more like, and there's one around like 27 million. And I did a box and whisker plot, and in this box and whisker plot, it did show that these 2 points, 16 million and 27 million approximately, those are outliers in this data set. So from my understanding of stats, I can remove them. So that's what I did in this graph right here. So backing up a little bit. So the y-axis on this graph is basically a relative global warming acceptance value. And how I got that for each state is the following way. I created weighted acceptances, which is basically state population times acceptance of global warming occurring in that state. Basically to give the appropriate weight for each population and their effect on sort of the national opinion on global warming. So that is for each state, and then our population is Republican population. Basically, I have a very narrow sort of view of what Republican and what Democrat mean in this little Excel sheet. Republican means that a Republican state voted for, in my sort of simplified view here, voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. Like the majority of people in the state did. And then a Democratic state voted for the majority of people in that state voted for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. So it's a very narrow definition, but it plays here pretty well, I think. So our population is the cumulative populations in those states that voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Our cumulative weighted acceptance, that is the weighted acceptances from all of the states that voted for Donald Trump in 2020 added together. And our average percent is the cumulative weighted acceptance for the Republican states divided by the population of all the states. So for this, 68% of people in Republican states vote or believe that climate change is occurring. And then following the same pattern or the same method, 74% of people in states that voted for Joe Biden in 2020 believe that global warming is occurring. Okay, and this last column is pretty important. So this is party difference. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video about trying to normalize for the political sort of situation in each state, its unique political environment. So basically with party difference, North Carolina isn't, in terms of its like belief in, it's just an example, they're not penalized for their sort of political situation. They are normalized like for their own party, basically for the Republican Party. So basically all that is for party difference is the state's acceptance of global warming occurring minus the corresponding party that state voted for in 2020. Yeah, the candidate that represents that party. So yeah, subtracting the average percentage. So basically, it's like for Alabama, it's acceptance for occurring minus the average acceptance for the whole country of Republicans of global warming happening. And in this case, in Alabama, it's 4% lower, 4.7% lower, lower acceptance rate than the national average for Republican states. So moving on, that's what the y-axis is in this graph. Uh, Global warming acceptance difference from party average. So this graph shows, I would say, moderate to moderately strong correlation. So basically, states that have more coastal population generally are more accepting of global warming relative to their own party. That's an important statement. Basically relative to people, to like their peers in their same party, basically. And this graph here is similar. It's just it has the outliers I was talking about earlier. It's included in it. So yeah, not really. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting, I would say. It kind of makes sense that people who live on the coast, who are more likely and are already experiencing some pretty dramatic effects of climate change, it appears, according to this data, that they're more likely to accept that global warming is happening. This is for both Democratic and Republican states. So very interesting. Going more into the Republican states, there really is a stark difference between ones that are coastal and ones that are non-coastal in terms of their acceptance of global warming happening. It's about a 4% difference. You can see in these box and whisker plots, it's like 64% of for the non-coastal Republicans, Republican states, sorry, and it's like 68% for the coastal Republican states. So 4%, approximately 4% bigger acceptance of global warming in coastal Republican states compared to non-coastal Republican states. So it didn't really, when I looked at that, I didn't really see a sort of similar trend for the Democratic states. It's more even across all of them. Even though they are mostly coastal, there are only a few that aren't, like Nevada and Arizona and Mexico. So, but with the Republican states, they're really, the data set's pretty strong. I mean, there were a lot of samples in each, both coastal and non-coastal. So I feel like it's a pretty, I don't know if I'd say established, but I feel like it's a pretty good indication that there actually is a difference between the two situations, basically. And I think it really sort of goes to the bigger point that seeing is believing. That's kind of why I titled the video this. If you're experiencing the effects of climate change and global warming, rising sea levels, which cause floods, and maybe the hurricanes you've noticed that the hurricanes are worse than they were in the past. The experience of that, it's, according to this, it's affecting people, and you can't really deny something when it's like tangibly affecting you, because we kind of all have when we get a stake in something, we kind of like, it means more to us. So, when global warming starts affecting you, I think this kind of shows, this data here kind of shows like we're more likely to believe in something if it's directly affecting us. So seeing is believing, experiencing is believing. That's what I think. Yeah, so that's really it this week. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, so we have a good day. See you next time. Zoom, or through a Zoom, or recorded Zoom on YouTube, or an article on LinkedIn, or something like that. So thanks for watching.